Before I introduce today's guest, I wanted to tell you a little bit about my new daily motivation series. This is a project I started to help motivate all of my listeners on a daily basis. Super simple, just go to visit jimmydaily.com, type in your email, and every morning I'm going to send you a quick 3 to 5 minute video from me on a new topic each day, something to help you motivate and start your day right. If you like the messages, feel free to share them with anybody else, inspire somebody else, and make a great day.
Welcome to the Jimmy Rex Show, a podcast that will inspire you to notice the ordinary events in your life that with a little action could make your life and the lives of others extraordinary. Here's your host, adventurer, entrepreneur, mentor, Jimmy Rex.
Today's guest, Robin Sharma, is considered one of the top 5 leadership experts in the entire world. He's a best-selling author, having sold over 15 million copies. And his most recent book, The 5 a.m. Club, is not only a bestseller, but it's also on my personal list of the top 5 self-help books ever written. This interview was a special one for me because I know how much introducing my audience to Robin's work can do for their lives. I'm so excited to share this. Let's get to the podcast with the Robin Sharma. Elevate Home Warranty is a local Utah company, and they know what it means to take care of their customers, take care of their neighbors, as they like to call them. It's a local company. They use local contractors. Whether you have a pipe leak, your AC or furnace goes out, maybe your kitchen appliances break down, with plans starting as low as $300, they save you thousands of dollars in repairs throughout the home. They want to focus on your family and giving you peace of mind when you buy your new home, because here in Utah, they want to help elevate your life. Well, I'm so excited to be on this podcast today. I'm with Robin Sharma, one of the premier experts in leadership and one of the all-time authors of our era, has sold over 15 million books. Robin, thanks so much for being on this morning.
Thanks a lot for having me, Jimmy. I'm excited to jam with you.
Well, I first heard of your book, The Monk That Sold the Ferrari, and I got to say, it caught my attention immediately in the business section. And it's funny because I look at the book, your newest book, 5 a.m. Club, which, by the way, thank you for the signed copy. I just finished reading it, and it's literally one of the best business books I've ever read. It's going to be in my new must-read list because you've dissected so many different principles of business and life and how to excel and put them all in this book and did it in a story form that just makes it so enjoyable to read. But how do you get the average person that's not a business reader to pick up a book called The 5 a.m. Club? It just seems like it would immediately want to turn off the guy that probably needs it the most.
Well, one of my clients, thanks for your generous words, by the way, Jimmy. They mean a lot because I put my heart and soul in the 5 a.m. Club and I worked on it for 4 years. But, Nike is one of our clients. And back when they were starting off, they said, everyone's an athlete. And the only reason I mention that is I believe that the 5 a.m. Club method that I've been teaching to billionaires and titans of industry for over 23 years is not just for business people. It's for anyone with a pulse, because I really believe that rising at 5 a.m. and running my 20-20-20 formula is the mother of all habits. It's the one morning routine that lifts every other ritual of your life. And so I think the 5 a.m. Club is definitely applicable to business people and entrepreneurs who want to scale their business and multiply their productivity. But it's also very much a book for filmmakers and for students and for mothers and fathers and astronauts and firefighters, because I think we live in a world right now where tranquility is the new luxury. I think we live in a world right now, Jimmy, where people are suffering from exhaustion, from distraction, and a lot of people, they're not connecting to their true values, the primal genius within them. They're just busy being busy. And the 5 a.m. Club method gives people that space to begin their day on fire so the rest of their days unfold beautifully.
Well, I've noticed anytime I get up at 5 a.m. and, every now and then I'll have to get up even a little earlier to get to the airport or something. And there's a calmness, like you said, a tranquility to the entire universe. It's like nothing's quite moving yet. And you truly can tap into, like you said, that luxury of tranquility where you get to get into your own mind space. You get to kind of get a little bit of an enlightenment, almost like a walking meditation once you're awake and out and about at that time of the day, I feel like.
Yeah, completely. I think there's a reason why the great artists, the great poets, the great writers, the great entrepreneurs of humanity, many of them had one thing in common. They rose between 4 and 6 o'clock every single morning. And there is this, I call it a magic. Like there's a magic in the air. It's a tranquility. But I also think that 5 a.m. to 6 a.m., what I call in the book the victory hour,
Yep.
is the best time of the day to build intimacy with what I call the four interior empires of mindset, heart set, health set, and soul set. What I'm suggesting is the best time to bulletproof your mindset, purify your heart set, optimize your health set so you have energy, and escalate your soul set is between 5 and 6 in the morning. It's your mind is most available to learning. Your heart is most open for you to reprogram it. Your body is ready to be optimized, and your soul is sort of longing for reconnection. It's a very, very special time of the day. But if you don't try it, then you won't know how powerful it is.
Well, and one thing I love about the book is you kind of break it down into your 20-20-20 formula, which I loved, because some people think, oh, well, if I get up at 5 a.m., I don't even know what to do. I don't even know where to start. Walk through us real quick. I mean, this is a special routine that you talk about is just super powerful. What is the 20-20-20 formula, and how does that come into effect for anybody looking to join the 5 a.m. club?
Sure. The backstory of the 20-20-20 formula is I've been mentoring billionaires for 2 decades, and they would come to me. They would have all the money in the world. They would come to me and say, I'm a virtuoso in my industry, but I lack inner peace, or I don't have energy, and I'm struggling with health issues, or I'm detached from my family relationships. What do I do? And the starting point was calibrating their morning routine, because I really have experienced that the way you begin your day dramatically sets up the way your day unfolds. And so if you can have that primary victory at the front end of your day, the rest of your day will be dramatically better. And great days lead into great weeks, months, quarters, and a year. So I developed this 20-20-20 formula, and I get into great detail in the book, obviously, but let me go high level. The first 20-minute pocket from 5 to 5:20 is all about move. And so what you want to do is you want to get involved in some sweaty exercise. Maybe it's push-ups, maybe it's running, maybe it's soul cycle, maybe it's skipping. What that's going to do is release BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is like Red Bull for your brain. It's also going to reduce cortisol, which is your fear hormone. It's going to increase dopamine, which is the inspirational neurotransmitter, which is pure gold for any entrepreneur or business builder. It's going to release serotonin, your pleasure hormone, and it's going to increase your metabolic rate, which is going to give you energy. And I think we live in a world right now where energy is even more valuable than intellect. So just by that first pocket of the 20-20-20 formula, it's 5:20. You've optimized your cognition. You've increased your energy. You're feeling inspired, and you're feeling happier. Second pocket of the 20-20-20 formula, high level, that's all about reflection. I mean, we live in a world right now where the addiction to distraction has caused us to be busy being busy versus truly productive. So in that second 20-minute pocket from 5:20 to 5:40, that's when you can journal, you can meditate, you can pray, you can visualize, you can actually do a template for your ideal day ahead. Final pocket of the 20-20-20 formula is all about grow. The billionaires, the industry titans I've worked with, the best performers on the planet have one thing in common, a monomaniacal appetite for curiosity. So that final 20-minute pocket is when you go through your game charts, you read an autobiography, you listen to a podcast, you watch a learning video. Now it's 6 o'clock. You've literally battle-proofed your mindset. You've strengthened your heart set. Your energy and health set is at a much higher level, and your soul set has been increased. The rest of your day is going to be much better.
Wow. Well, and it makes so much sense. I mean, every time you do these routines, right, productivity is so dramatically increased. You also talk about kind of just really diving into from 8 a.m. in the morning till 2 o'clock in your day, if you just kill that time frame, you get more done in those 5 hours than most people get done in a week. And it's kind of feel the same way with the morning. Is people always say they don't have time to meditate, they don't have time to read for 20 minutes and these different things. But you truly have an hour there where there's no distractions from 5 to 6 a.m. You're not getting any phone calls. Everyone else is probably still asleep. So you truly get to work on yourself and, I guess, sharpen the saw, you could say.
Yeah, completely. I mean, I believe the doorway to success swings inward, not outward. And what I mean by that is you're absolutely right. Our society tells us that working on our inner lives is a waste of time. Our culture encourages us to fill our schedule with busyness as a badge of honor of productivity. But what that means is most of us on the planet today are doing fake work versus real work. And I would rather in the 5 a.m. club, I actually have, that 5 great hours rule. And you're absolutely right. It takes most people a week, maybe even 2 weeks to get 5 world-class hours done. And so by rising at 5 a.m., running the 20-20 formula, and then using the other rituals I talked about in the book, like the 90-91 rule, the tight bubble of total focus, literally you create a battle-proofed zone where you protect your mindset, your inspiration, and your highest grade of work from distraction. One quick tip to do that is literally create what I call a Menlo lab. So Edison is one of my heroes. And what he would do is he created a creative lab where he would divorce himself from the world and distractions and interruptions. And he and his team would spend long periods of time in isolation and deep focus working on the few things that would allow them to change the game. So for all your listeners around the world, I'd simply say, join the 5 a.m. club, run the 20-20-20 formula that I deeply explain in the book, do it for 66 days because University College London says anyone can rewire themselves into world-class habits. Most people just don't spend enough time doing it. 66 days is the minimum viable amount of time, according to science, to allow neuroplasticity to wire in a new habit, to automaticity, where it actually becomes easier to get up at 5 a.m. than stay in bed. Then once you do that morning routine, lock yourself away for at least three or 4 hours in this dark zone or this Menlo Park. Maybe it's a part of your apartment or a quiet room, or maybe it's a library, and literally put away your phone and do world-class work that will allow you to change the game versus spending your days dipping into real work and then coming back to busyness where you never get any genius grade work done.
Oh, wow. This podcast is such a treat. These are literally, you've hacked success life. And as I'm listening to you, and I have so many thoughts and so many things people that I model my own business and my own life after that do these things. And one thing that keeps kind of coming back to my mind is, why aren't more people successful? Why don't more people do this? It's so obvious that if you do this, if you spend your first part of your day doing what you just described, you can't not succeed. I mean, you have to succeed at that point. So why aren't more people, what stops people from doing these routines? Or what have you seen, Robin?
Well, I know you like to go deep, Jimmy, and I believe that beneath every excuse is a fear. Mm-hmm. So most people will say, I won't join the 5 a.m. club because, and then they fill in an excuse, even though many of the world's most successful people, the history makers, along with Michelle Obama, the visionary behind Starbucks, Howard Schultz, Tim Cook of Apple, these are all members of the 5 a.m. club or early risers. So here's what I'm suggesting. Our excuses are nothing more than our lies coming to get us. And so we make excuses because much deeper than our excuses, we're terrified. We're actually terrified to join the 5 a.m. club, run the 20-20-20 formula, and fully optimize our primal genius. Because to do that would mean we'd have to go out in the world and face trolls. To fully live our bigness would mean we could experience failure. To fully live a world-class life means we would bump up against our insecurities. And so what we do is we create this mask of excusitis, if I'm making sense.
Oh, yeah.
To avoid us from feeling the fear. And that's why, I'm going to share what I believe is the missing link to personal mastery and exponential productivity. So many people in our industry talk about mindset. And I say this with a lot of respect, but in the 5am Club, I actually say mindset is actually only 25% of the personal mastery and empire making equation, because our mindset is only our psychology, and we're much more than just our beliefs. So a lot of people, they read a book and they say, okay, I have the mindset and the beliefs that will allow me to win. But there's another 25% of the personal mastery equation, and that's heart set.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And heart set is really about our emotionality. It's about not only building gratitude so we experience higher level emotions, but heart set is also about going into the lower grade emotions like guilt, shame, anger, sorrow, insecurity. And when you start doing that, along with the third interior empire I talk about in the book called health set and the fourth soul set, you actually start to move through your wealth wounds, your blocks to elite performance, and the very limitations that are causing you not to see reality and possibility. So what I'm saying is the real work is working on your four interior empires every morning, 5 to 6, while the rest of the world is asleep. Then you go out into the world and you're a force of nature versus allowing the excuses, limitations, and doubts to hypnotize you into this reality of why you really can't live at world class.
Yeah, and that was one of my favorite parts of the entire book was the four interior empires. For years, I had a real estate coach that just drilled mindset. And I had a beautiful mindset. I mean, I literally for 5 years straight was in the office, 7 to 8 practicing, 8 to 12 on the phones. I was relentless. But what I was missing was the heart set and the health set, right? And I've been working the last couple of years on, I'm glad that you used that word, like those wounds of your heart, the shame and the guilt that you have over previous areas in your life where maybe you didn't even know what you were doing wrong, or you didn't know why you felt like you weren't succeeding. And it really had a lot more to do with that than it did with my mindset. And so it truly is a 4-pronged approach and now I'm working a lot on my health set, right? Like really optimizing my energy and my health to get me to a place where I show up, like you use the word warrior a lot, where you just have that ultimate space where you can go out and kill the world.
Jimmy, I really evangelize the idea that mindset is only 25% because I think it's limiting so many of us. Yeah. And you're exactly right. We all read the books and we all watch the videos and we all go to conferences and we get it at a cognitive or intellectual level. That's only 25%. It's getting into our heart set, which is increasing joy. I talk a lot about specific tactics in the book to increase our joy because I think success without joyfulness is an empty victory. But heart set work is also about, you're right, going through the shame and the guilt and the not enoughness that we feel, because the very journey through life means maybe it's our mother or father, they're going to say something that hurts us. And then we go to school and a teacher minimizes us. And then we start a business or we lose a relationship when we experience heartbreak. And our society says, suppress and repress that emotion. And here's what happens. We develop what I call this field of hurt. And that field of hurt, all this suppressed sadness, anger, frustration, it's within most of us on the planet, but we don't even know it's there because it's subconscious. And it's an energy and it seeps into our mindset. And that's why we're toxic. And that's why we think we can't be billionaires or we can't be virtuosos. That's why we limit ourselves. And so it's mindset, heart set, health set. You're absolutely right. I mean, exercise is a game changer. In the 5am Club, I say, if you believe exercise increases your cognition, creativity, and energy, then why would you do it only once a day?
Right.
right? That's one of the 10 rituals of genius I talk about in the book. One of them is the second wind workout, which has dramatically helped my billionaire clients be even more productive as well as more peaceful. And then it's also soul set.
Well, but before we jump into soul set real quick, I want to touch base again on the heart set and some of that, because you mentioned that a lot of this is subconscious. A lot of people don't want to dig into the trauma. And one quote that I've shared before of yours is, people who study others are wise, but those who study themselves are enlightened. But a lot of people either don't want to or don't know how to dig into their own traumas, their own subconscious that's kind of screwing them up. So what do you have any, like, how would you approach that, or how do you help people to even want to dig into that and want to start pulling out those bad, that bad wiring that maybe they have from their past?
Fantastic question. Best time to do it is while the rest of the world is asleep. That's why I really do believe the 5 a.m. club method is revolutionary. And that's why, the book is one of the best selling books in the world right now, because it's working for people. Let me be specific. So we talked about the 20-20-20 formula, right? The Spartan warriors say, sweat more in training and you'll bleed less in war. Second pocket, 520 to 540. As I mentioned, that's about reflection. One of the things you can do during your reflective period is journaling. Jimmy, journaling has saved my life. When I have been on my knees, heartbroken, suffering, I went to my journal and I poured my pain, sadness, shame, confusion out onto a fresh written page. There have been times in my life where I've been in such pain, where I would write maybe 300 pages in a month.
Wow.
And, Khalil Gibran has written a great book, and it's called The Prophet. And he said, the deeper you go into your pain, the more joy your cup can hold. And here's the powerful idea. The powerful idea is really this: to heal a wound, you need to feel a wound. The best way out of the pain and sorrow and anger we're all carrying. And if any one of your listeners is saying, well, that doesn't apply to me, I say this with a lot of respect. There are very few people on the planet who do not have this field of hurt I'm talking about. Some people have macro trauma. They've been abused, or they've been, cheated on in their relationships or in their businesses. At my live events, I say, show of hands, entrepreneurs, how many people have been stolen from through your business journey? I'd say 60 to 70% of the hands go up. So there's macro trauma that some of us suffer. You're in a car accident, illness, bankruptcy. That's just life. But some of us might just have micro trauma. Your father says money doesn't grow on trees. Your mother says, you want to be a business builder? Be practical. You don't get invited to your best friend's grade 5 birthday party. That's micro trauma. So what happens is we go through life, we develop this field of hurt and we suppress it because the world says don't feel. So to be specific, you write in your journal for 20 minutes and you pour out your feelings. Now, this is a journey. The first day, you don't access the depths of your pain field.
Yeah, it's like an onion. You're peeling it off each time you write them out and get to the core.
But every single session at 5 a.m. counts. Every single time you journal to get into that heart set work, you make progress and you let go of a little bit more and you're fundamentally different. Every meditation from 520 to 540 rewires your neurobiology just a little bit. Every prayer burns off a little bit of your ego. Every nature walk where you contemplate and divorce yourself from the world and ask yourself, who am I? What are my talents? How can I make today better? Adjusts you just a little bit more. So every 5 a.m. club session introduces you with your primal genius and your native talent just a little bit more. And if you do it every single day, every single week, month, and year, obviously you get to a place on the last hour of your last day where you're dramatically more heroic than being a card-carrying member of the cult of mediocrity.
Well, it's so funny because I feel like when people get behind, they feel like they have to catch up by doing the work that's more seen, right? The more external things. But truly, and what I'm hearing you saying, what I've kind of experienced in my own life is, if you truly want to, if you feel like you're behind, you're probably only behind internally. Like, what does that even mean? Right. Like, and so the work that you truly need to be focusing on is the stuff that's not going to bring you immediately a sell today. It's journaling, it's meditating, it's walking in nature. And over time, you become this asset that has so much more capability to get ahead than the person that felt like they were behind in the first place.
Totally. You know, a lot of your followers and believers are empire creators, creatives, and entrepreneurs. So I'll put it to you this way. You know, income never rises any higher than self-identity. Mm-hmm. Period. The reason, you know, the billionaires I work with, it sounds very obvious, but they just have monomaniacal grades of self-faith, and they have a mulish level faith in their ambition. And that comes, I mean, I had Tom Bilyeu at the Titan Summit last year. And I remember what he was saying. He goes, you know, before we built Quest, he said, he was a film student, and he said, he locked himself away for 3 years. Guess what he did? Reading, studying, building. He even said, he goes, I didn't date, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. And I can't tell you how many of the billionaires that I've coached, you know, and executives from Starbucks, Nike, IBM Watson, et cetera, that I've worked with for 2 decades. They fully understand that getting your morning routine right, getting up at 5 a.m. And, you know, in the book, I say, all change is hard at first, messy in the middle, gorgeous at the end.
I love that quote, by the way.
A great relationship isn't meant to be easy. You know, a history-making enterprise isn't easy. You know, creating your Sistine Chapel ceiling product for the world isn't meant to be easy. So getting into the 5 a.m. club, remembering that it's hard at first for about 22 days, messy in the middle for about 22 days, and gorgeous at the end as you install it. You know, that's just the process. And then once you get up early, from 5 to 6, run the 20-20-20 formula. I mean, I've taught this for 2 decades. I know how profound it is. And what starts to happen is you start to believe in yourself again. You start to optimize your energy. You start to, you know, even that fourth interior empire, Jimmy, soul set. Like, people might go, well, that sounds mystical, Robin. That sounds religious. And I'm not a religious person. Here's what I'd say. You have a choice when you walk out in the world and get into your business or walk out on the streets every day. You can be operating via your ego, or you can develop a much deeper relationship with your primal genius and your highest self. You know, that is a relationship which will introduce you to your natural wisdom, your natural bravery. We all on the planet, I mean, the mystics have said this and the philosophers have said this, at our core, before the world taught us to fear, doubt, disbelieve, you know, shut ourselves down and play small. At our core is massive creativity, natural vitality, deep wisdom, and instinct. And the more we can build a relationship with that part of ourselves while the rest of the world is asleep, we go out in the world, we're much more productive, creative, authentic, on our truest game. We don't care about competition. We battle-proof ourselves from haters because we are running our own race. And that's where the Titans really play.
Well, and I love how you talk about the haters are our soul partners in life. They're a gift to us, the trolls and the haters. Get into that a little bit. I love the way that you put it, because anytime you start to, I believe you're exactly what you said it was, anytime you start to shine a brighter light, you're going to attract more shadows. I love that. So it's such a deep quote. Because I've noticed in my own life, as I've started to kind of put more and more things out there, you know, you'll get these random haters and these trolls. And it is kind of like, at first it kind of bugs you, like, this guy doesn't even know me. And then all of a sudden you realize, like, these people are projecting something in their own lives that they're not happy with. But how do you see them, truly see, you know, trolls and these different haters as a gift, as you're doing things and building people up?
Oh man, next time we talk, let's spend an hour on that one question, because, in the book, I say you can listen to your critics or change the world. You can't do both. And towards the end of the 5 a.m. Club, there are those 11 letters of the eccentric tycoon character, Mr. Riley. And one of those letters really talks about an entire philosophy of handling critics, naysayers, and misunderstanders. For now, I'd simply say, you're getting traction around your ambition the more you are hated. Because the very nature of a disruptive idea means you're going to terrify the status quo. You see, all visionaries are originally ridiculed before they are revered.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they laughed at Jobs. They laughed at the Wright brothers. They laughed at Edison. They laughed at Mother Teresa. They laughed at Gaga. They laughed at Howard Schultz. They laughed at and still laugh at Elon Musk. And then that's why we get back to the 4 interior empires. While the rest of the world is asleep, you need to be waking up and battle-proofing your core. So when people laugh at you, you turn the stones of the trolls into monuments of mastery that stand the test of time of history. So how do I look at trolls? You're absolutely right, Jim. There was someone posted a picture of The Alchemist, which is a great book.
Sure.
And the monk who sold his Ferrari. And I looked at, and the post was like, why do we see, the 5 a.m. Club, Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, Alchemist, and all these other books in so many social media posts? And I just looked at some of the comments, and it was a real estate agent. He goes, I hate The Alchemist. I hate The Alchemist and the Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Here's what I would say. If it's hysterical, it's historical. So you've touched a deep heart-set wound by the size of the overreaction. If someone says, Jimmy, I hate your work, Robin, I hate your work, if you have someone who actually takes the time to do a video bad-mouthing your product in the world, right?
Right.
The very nature of great art is it terrifies people. And so rather than embracing the message, it's easier to shoot the messenger. I mean, I spent 4 years handcrafting the 5 a.m. Club. As you know, there's art in there and there's neuroscience.
Oh, it really is incredible how you put that together. I don't even know what the process would have been to make a book like this, because you take so much genius and you put it all together in such a form. If you actually would tell us how you formed that, and I mean, I can see why it took 4 years, but the process of doing that, I bet, was just so intense, because it truly is. It's a masterpiece. It really is, Robin.
You honestly, you touch my heart when you say that, because look, who knows how long we get to live. And I'm much less interested in applause and selling a lot of books and fame and fortune. I come from very simple beginnings, and I'm not really interested in all that kind of stuff. But with the 5 a.m. Club, I said, if I could, in 333 or so pages, take my entire body of work, all the models and all the coaching of billionaires and Fortune 100 and NBA stars, and put it into a book that was a roller coaster ride of a story that had art in it, neuroscience, my best productivity models, at the end of the book, ideas on how do you live a great life and philosophy, and handcraft every single line. What would I do? And, that was a painful book to write. People laughed at me. I was exhausted a lot of the time. It was just very hard, but I really believe that the universe rewards you when you take the time to put out your best magic. I think we live in a world, Jimmy, where it's very easy to put out 1,000 pieces of mediocrity. And yet I think the people who are winning take the time to say, I don't care if it's going to take 5 years, 10 years. I don't care, if I'm going to be toiling in anonymity. Okay. And I don't have a lot of applause, but I know I'm doing something that when I put it out in the world, it's going to blow people's minds. I'm from that school.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, I think you have come along at the perfect time of kind of when society needed this, because I feel like your stuff is for our day. You, in a world where everything is fast and get out as much as you can, you took 4 years for this particular book. In a world where a lot of people want to become victims for whatever reason, it's become popular to be a victim. Like, even if you are a victim, it doesn't serve you, but people just are so clinging to this idea that I need my unfair share now, or whatever, this victimhood. And you've come along and just said, like, the opposite, just things that need to be said. Like, look, this is up to you. You get one life. At the end of this thing, how do you want to be remembered? Do you want to go down as somebody? You actually wrote a book, sold over 1 million copies now, called Who Will Cry When You Die? And that title is so beautiful, because it's, people just, it's like they act like this is their first life of many or something. I don't understand sometimes. And what you've really tapped into, I think the people that you're finding that are just all in on your book and your concepts are these people that truly realize and know they can take control of their own life. You truly get to pick what you want your life to be about. The possibilities are endless, and it's up to you to decide if you want to take the time, effort, wake up in the morning and do these things to create this life, this beautiful life that we all deserve and can have if we go for it.
What you just said speaks very, very profoundly to me. My father, one of the great heroes in my life, is 83 years old. And for 54 years, he was a very humble family doctor. I asked Dad, I said, Dad, why would you do that for 54 years? And he said, Robin, because my patients needed me. When I was growing up, he used to quote Rabindranath Tagore. And he said, Robin, when you were born, you cried while the world rejoiced. He said, Robin, live your life in such a way that when you die, the world cries while you rejoice. And you're absolutely right. I mean, a lot of the values, a lot of the models, a lot of the insights in the 5am Club, guess what they are? They're contrarian. I mean, I think we've tried living in a world of bikini shots and selfie pics. We've tried living in a world where we're addicted to distraction and realize it's the death of our creative production. We've tried living in a world where we spend our best hours of our greatest days buying things. I mean, I can't tell you how many billionaires I've worked with who say, I don't know my kids. On the way home, I drink 7 or 8 or 9 beers. I have all these addictions. The world thinks I have everything. I don't even know myself. So I believe in materiality. I think it provides for much more freedom. I help people make fortunes economically. But please let us not chase the mountain of prosperity and lose our soul and our values and our joy and our humanity in the process. And so I think what I've been teaching for 23 years, sometimes as a lone voice in the wilderness, is starting to get a lot more traction, and I think it's because people have tried what most people are selling, and it's not giving them what most people are looking for. I think ultimately people want JPF, joy, peace, and freedom. And they think the outer things are going to bring them that state, joy, PF, joy, peace, and freedom.
Wow. No, it's very profoundly said. And I've noticed in my own life, the people that well, it's one thing when you're younger and you kind of think to yourself, one day, if I have these things, then I'll be happy. Or you think, one day if I'm a multimillionaire, I'll finally be at peace. I'll be at peace in life. But then enough people got there and realized, wait, I don't feel any less empty inside. Like you talk about these billionaires and different things. So I guess what advice do you have for, somebody that's looking to, have a more creative, a more productive life while just leading a happier, more peaceful life in general?
Well, I'd say first of all, Jimmy, I'd say pursue mastery over chasing profit, period. The marketplace rewards the release of magic. The marketplace does not reward mediocrity. In the 5am Club, I introduce this term, GCA, gargantuan competitive advantage, and I deconstruct how the masters do it. And they're not about pushing 1,000 pieces of mediocrity. They are about the patience and painstaking obsession of detail and the artistry about putting only beautiful things in the world. I watched this documentary the other night called Hal, and it's about this amazing virtuoso filmmaker named Hal Ashby, he's not talked about when people talk about Scorsese. He's not talked about when people talk about the other great film directors. But he, in the 70s, put out 7 masterpieces in a row, including Coming Home, Being There, and a few other ones. And here's what broke his heart. He was putting out just genius grade films, but the studios shut him down. And it broke his heart. And in the 80s, he put out, things that didn't do very well. My point is simply this. He is now revered among people who know because he put mastery over the pursuit of profit. Ironically, when you Steve Jobs it and put out world-class products, the world beats a path to your door. So the first thing I would say to people is, put out magic and the marketplace will reward you and profit will follow. Second thing I'd say is don't lose your soul and your family and your joy while you pursue your mountaintop. Both are important. And a lot of the 5am Club explains how do you build balance? The second wind workout protocol, the 2 massage protocol, all of that kind of thing. And then the final thing I'd say is there's a story I write about in the book that I read from an article. So there was Joseph Heller and Kurt Vonnegut, 2 iconic authors, were at a cocktail party out on Long Island. And it was at the home of a billionaire. And one of these authors said to the other, he goes, "Hey, Kurt, how does it feel knowing that our host made more money yesterday than you've made during the entire royalties of your world-class book?" And the other author, Joseph Heller, replied, "Well, guess what? I have something he'll never have." And the other author said, "What?" And he said, "The feeling that I have enough."
Wow.
And that is where heart set is the game changer. I really, I want to take this message out to the world. When you do your heart set healing, so you fill the wounds and holes that cause us to be addicted to ego, distraction, chasing more money, then you make money, but you don't need it. You see, and you actually experience joy and wonder while you build your business and serve the world. It's a much more joyful way, and you don't get into that trap of medicating yourself with more, which is exhausting and ultimately very soul destroying.
Well, and you can see it very clearly when people are chasing something they already have in abundance. You see it from the outside much easier. We've all done this, but you see it much easier from the outside looking in, where you go, "Dude, enough with the money. Go focus on the other parts of your life." Or you're like, "Girl, you don't need more plastic surgery. You're a beautiful human. Work on the inside," or whatever it might be. These things that people get, they think that they're chasing, and there's never enough, because there's always somebody more beautiful. There's always somebody with more money. There's always somebody who's more successful. And so you truly do have to tap into those other areas, the heart and the soul. And we'll kind of finish up on this. I want you to talk a little bit about, I kind of cut you off earlier about the soul because I wanted to fill up those other points. But tell us a little bit, we talked about mindset, heart set, and health set. How does one work on that soul set to be able to take that 4th pillar and maximize that?
Right. I mean, so to give your many listeners context, what I've been suggesting is the doorway to success swings inward, not outward. What I've been suggesting is when you work on not only your mindset, but these 3 other interior empires that I explain in the book, mindset, heart set, health set, and soul set, you battle proof and materialize your inner empires that are the key to all exterior empires, whether those are economic, artistic, creative, productive, or philanthropic. So what is that 4th interior empire that I call soul set? Well, some people might dismiss that as weak. They might even say my heart set is weak. Robin, talk to me about mindset because that's very culturally acceptable. Well, opening your heart, accessing your bravery, tapping into your love of your craft, your love of your values, your love of your highest nature, your love of your fellow brothers and sisters on this tiny planet in a galaxy of trillions is not weak. It's strong. Mandela wasn't weak when he served the world. He was strong. So you asked me about soul set. Well, that's not weak either. To actually say at 5 a.m., by joining the 5 a.m. club, running this 20-20-20 formula, so I can access the 3 other anterior empires plus build my soul set, that's brave work. Anyone can play on their phone all day. Anyone can medicate themselves by being busy. Anyone can actually build their business and their lives around their ego, which is really just a voice of insecurity. You know what takes a real strong woman or man? To say, I'm actually going to do that soul set work, whether it's through meditation, journaling, nature walks, prayer, sweat lodge, hypnotherapy, talk therapy, whatever. We can get into it if you want to go deep into it, or maybe next time. But by doing that deep soul set work where you start to get to know the voice of your ego, because as you get to know your shadows, you dissolve the darkness. As you get to hug your monsters, you realize they were little chihuahuas. And so by doing this deep soul set work, you actually go, hey, ego, you're not as big as I thought you were. And you start to shoot your demons down. And guess what happens? As what Carl Jung said, your shadow self, as that starts to dissolve, here's what automatically happens. The shadows get smaller and the sunlight gets brighter. Okay. And that's what that means is the whispers of your creativity. Your true artistry, your true self, your true values, your true nature, which so many people have talked about for thousands of years. It starts to become so much bigger. So soul set work is building while the rest of the world is asleep, 5 to 6 a.m., your victory hour. You're building intimacy and fluency with the most important relationship. The relationship that determines how you hang with your family, your teammates, your suppliers, strangers, and the world at large. And that relationship that defines everything, even your income and impact, it all gets down to your relationship with your primal genius and your truest self. And we live in a world where people don't spend much time even getting to know that fundamental relationship that defines every other relationship.
Wow. Well, it's so perfectly put. There's a reason you have launched so many books onto the bestseller list. I mean, to have over 15 million copies sold, it's kind of funny because I know you're in over 90 languages, but you literally means that your message that goes out to the world is one of the most broadly listened to and read messages in the entire world. And so I'm just grateful that somebody has put the effort in, that you've lived your own principles to become the person that can share this message with the masses. This message that truly, I hope anybody listening to this is paying attention. Find Robin online on Instagram, Twitter. You actually have very good pages for an author. A lot of authors don't put the effort and time into it, but yours are daily very inspirational and stuff that gives you these little pointers every day to kind of keep you on track with the 5 a.m. club. So I just want to say thank you again. I give away a book every year for Christmas to about 100, 200 of my clients. And if you're listening to this and you're a client of mine, just expect to join the 5 a.m. club starting New Year's next year. So thank you again, Robin. Seriously, a pleasure. And if people want to find more of your information, minus just following you online, do you have a place that you like to send people in particular to learn more of these principles, to kind of dig in a little bit more into the 4 pillars and the 91 rule and some of these things?
Absolutely. And first, I want to say thank you for your time, Jimmy. And it's really been a genuine privilege. And you were very generous in what you just said about me. I'm just a blue collar worker, humble servant, trying to help as many people as possible. If people want to go deep into the 5 a.m. club, read the book, learn all the methodologies, and go 25 times on productivity and impact, they can get it at Amazon.com. It's been made into a beautiful audiobook, so that's at audible.com. And I do want to mention at the end of the book, because a lot of people read a book and then they're sort of lost or they don't get any traction on what they've learned, I've actually built into the end of the book a link where people can get a 66-day program where I give them free video mentoring, morning mastery meditations, and a wealth of resources. So they get through that 66-day product with my support and encouragement. No charge whatsoever. The link is at the end of the book. And I also want to say a portion of my royalties is going to help children suffering from leprosy. So, your listeners can read the book, get their transformation, and know that they're also doing good for a kid in need.
I love that. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Children's charities are close to my own heart. They're the ones that I participate in as well. So thank you again. And we look forward to talking again someday. I can't wait for the day to sit down and enjoy some more time with you, Robin. So thank you so much.
Can't wait for it either. Thanks, Jimmy.